Fuzzy. Anybody out there? Is anybody out there? I'm in the box. Let me out. Let me out.
Oh, okay. Let me do something. Maybe. What's this, honey?
Potpourri.
Can I do something with it? That won't
What do you
hurt?
want to do?
I want to lean this forward.
Okay.
Do something less than that. Yeah, well, that's fairly stable. Fairly stable. We'll just be careful. Yeah, I'm not going to risk it. Yeah, set it down just a little bit more. Yeah, so
Pack of cigarettes?
try it. Right. That's good. Perfect. Would you like
Would
that?
this even be better?
Not better. We could add to it, but I think that we're in a good position now, considering everything. And if I move back a little bit, that's okay too. That's what it's like when I move back. That's what I'm
I
working.
wish
with.
I'd send a reminder out.
Yeah, I'm okay with this.
All right.
Actually, a taller chair is a taller chair. Maybe one of the deck chairs.
How about one of the dining room chairs?
Well, okay. Let's see. Just a little bit taller.
We start with screen sharing.
Yeah, let's see how it works.
Which one?
Whiteboard.
Whiteboard.
Right now, click on Depot
Where?
up here. But I'm wondering, you are screen sharing, so we should be, that should be our screen share right there.
Okay. So here we are. To see who's coming on.
Mhm.
Which one of these will do it? Goodness gracious. I kind of wish we hadn't done that.
Why don't you close this window for now?
Okay. Nobody else is on, so how do
And
we
we'll
do that?
ask participants how, what they see and what's working and take advice from them because we're very new at this too. See if anyone shows up. So Susan Serp is host.
Mhm.
Yes. Go slow, go fast for more what?
Oh, we're recording. You are late.
Good.
But everybody else is even later.
Later, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll give them a chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's we could start we could start sharing the screen or just chat about what what the subject is.
Well, I want you to bring me up to speed on what the synthesis is. There.
Okay, I can do that verbally. Susan is well versed also, but we're talking about.
I'm not so technical, but go ahead.
Well, I've been tutoring her.
Oh, good.
We're talking about especially the difference between the geological surveys that were included in this report. One was before the buildings were built, you can see clearly, I mean, I can see clearly that it is a survey that was done after the slurry walls were poured and they excavated the bathtub. And we're talking about the east bathtub, not the one that the towers were in right now, but the east bathtub that was building number 4. Okay, so that's, that is the focus, or the, getting into the subject, because looking at the cavities, you've seen, I imagine you've seen, we could go, let's see if we can share the screen.
All
Okay.
right.
I'm for that.
Let's not do whiteboard again.
Okay,
That
what do you want
was,
to do?
Let's see.
A Zoom chat meeting so that people can chat on it, or I don't know how this works.
Oh, let's see. We want just this, don't we?
Well, we'll want that, and then yeah, that's the best one for now.
Well, why isn't
Although,
it an
actually,
option?
Well, the best one is the Facebook page, because it has,
That's what I'm doing.
oh, good, yeah. So,
Okay, let's see if that shows.
yeah, let's see if,
Oh, well,
I'm up, let's see.
no, I don't know. I don't know. Advanced. Let's try advanced.
no,
No, not advanced. Files. Oh,
basic.
all right, back to basic. Why isn't it showing? It's a screen that's up.
You have to double click on it? Is it, what do you see now?
I see both of ours. I've got them side by side in
Yes,
gallery
Scott.
view.
So
Yeah.
you do not see the screen that we're
No, I do
Okay,
not.
we'll go back and see if we can get that up.
How are we doing this wrong?
Double click on the whiteboard, see what happens. Oh, okay.
Now it says you've started screen sharing.
Good. Now go to the, what we want to see. Yeah, good. Can you see that?
Whiteboard.
That's all he sees.
Oh,
I don't understand why there's an issue here.
I don't
But
either.
you see your screen, you see your slides on your end, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Huh.
they're on Facebook. I don't understand why. We did this before.
Well, it shouldn't matter. It should be able to share whatever's on your screen, I would think.
Right.
There, now there's something different. No, now you've quit sharing and now it's just you guys and me.
All right, let me see. Multiple participants? No, we don't want that.
Not yet. We might try that again someday. Yeah,
Why isn't a window that's open up as an option here? This
Now,
is.
don't you go yelling at the machine.
I am going to yell at the machine. Don't tell me what to do.
Okay, try.
We've done this before. I don't understand this.
Right. Try whiteboard again.
Why are we trying the same thing?
Well,
That's a mark of an insanity.
Yeah.
There we go, screen sharing.
Yeah, but all you see is whiteboard, and how are we going to get to Facebook?
Do you see the whiteboard now?
I do.
Okay,
I see
now
that.
try going to the deep holes one for just to see.
We're doing the same thing.
We're
over
doing the
and-
same thing. I'm looking at if the thing is nothing we can do as far as.
Well, let's try something different. Will it share anything? I mean, put up a PowerPoint or a JPEG or anything. Let's just see if I can see anything you've got.
Well, yeah, this is pretty much a JPEG, but it's on Facebook. It is on the screen though. Yeah.
Oh, and you see it and I don't.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
weird. I don't think there's anything I can do. If I
Right.
share a screen, it'll just want me to share it.
Yeah.
Select, clear, save, undo.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now I see your cursor. Your
Yeah,
cursor is moving around.
Right.
but that's not
Now,
helping us.
but when we go to a screen that we want to share,
God damn, we've done this before.
I know that we've done this before, and I'm really,
All right,
yeah.
download. It's now a JPEG. Opening. Open says me.
okay, let's back up.
No.
And do you see stuff on your screen? I just see the white screen now.
Well, only because I've got windows open.
Let's get out of this whole mess for a second and see if there's anybody else that wants
Wait a minute, the JPEG just opened. So let's see if it's available now for the share. I'm gonna close this.
Is there anybody else waiting? Nope.
JPEG,
Any luck?
no.
Huh.
Oh, wait a minute,
Whoa, wait a minute. Depot Google Chrome.
what do you
What
see
happened
now?
there? What's that?
It's the same two, like half a screen is each of us.
Yeah.
It's,
I
I've
put-
got it, and if I put it in speaker view, then it'll just be whoever's talking.
Okay, what do you
Whoops,
see now?
started, there we go. Now we got a tractor
Okay,
on it.
double click. But I needed to get it as an option. So I guess apparently what we need to do is
Now, is this the
download
east bathtub you're talking about?
Right. Okay, let me talk for a minute since we have this up.
Great.
And we can notice things like,
And can you make it bigger on your end? Can you make it full screen?
I don't see
yeah, I
how.
appreciate, yeah, at this point here,
Well, let's leave it alone. We got picture.
good.
Okay,
So one thing that we'll find in common is the steel or iron tube.
you see the cursor?
I do.
Okay, good.
Another thing that we'll notice is, well, you know, you can see that we're at the beginning. This was the bedrock surface right here. This is where the stuff is starting to fracture off as they're excavating, or they're fracturing stuff that, you know, is.
And how were they fracturing it? Were they just pounding at it?
Yeah, they had a pneumatic
Pile driver.
Yeah, pneumatic chipper on
Yeah.
on an excavator. Among other things, there are pickaxes in the hole. There are all kinds of things. They also did power washing. Let's see if we can advance through these. No, we can't. That's too bad.
It's a JPEG at
Right, it's
this
a
point.
JPEG. So
Yeah.
now what we have to do is figure out how to get the, we can close this.
Oh,
Wait a
you
minute.
can.
There we
Holy,
go.
holy mackerel.
Slide 2.
Okay. And we,
And
oh, you can use
what
the arrows, good.
what time of year is this? The pool
It's
down there?
probably in, I'm just guessing it's probably in the spring of 2002. I mean, yeah, 2002.
Okay.
So
you can-
this is
A few months
following-
afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the damage that 9/11 did.
You can see that they're forming a ramp with material to get down into the cavity with the excavator.
Now, how do we know what was there before 9/11 and what isn't there now?
Okay, let's run quickly through this just to view the images and get a, you know, like less than a sentence.
Yeah, tell your story.
What is that?
I love
stuff?
that picture. That's great.
Isn't that beautiful? It's have you ever heard of the term anataxy?
Anataxy. I think so.
Anatexy. Anatexy.
Anataxy. What's the definition?
It's a geological term for formations, a unique formation in rock that is caused by highly energetic events such as magma or nuclear.
Mhm.
Or essentially anything that can
I don't actually see how nuclear could leave a smooth surface like that.
Well, you look at, I think one of the things that we talked about in the last meeting, and somebody, I think it was Richard Gage or Andy Steele, said it looks like the stuff that you find that after a volcano has erupted and the lava has run by.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially what we're looking at, is a place in this metamorphic rock that the temperature has reached a point that the rock shatters, that the crystalline structure shatters. And this is the boundary layer of that temperature.
Well, could we say that it melted?
Yes, you could say that what was next to it melted.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
was next to it melted. But this is the boundary layer.
That's what didn't melt right there.
That's what it didn't melt. Perfect. Okay, next slide.
Now, is that hole down? Which way's
So
up? in the
that's sideways. That is like you reached your fist out, you could punch it.
Okay. Now, and let me ask you this, is the formation there, the stripes around in the circle, is that part of the rock? If you dig into the rock, you'd find that formation down there? Or is that
Yes,
only
you
showing
would
up on the
find
surface?
those veins or layers were part of the formation of the rock. And yeah, there are different elements and different minerals in each one of those.
So it was melted at some time to make this nice curved shape up the left there. The whole thing was melted like magma.
Well, this is new. This surface here is brand.
Well, I know the surface is, but the underlying rock that you say has this surface characteristics deep down into it seems to have flowed.
Right, there does appear to have been some sort of a flow or at least a layering of the.
Well, it's not like sedimentary rocks where it's gravitational and horizontal all the time,
right,
but it's
right.
definitely got a pattern to it.
Right. This is metamorphic.
Yeah.
It's either schist or pegamatite.
Okay.
And this is where we'd love to get some geologists, people with geological knowledge and expertise involved. Because they'd be able to, like one of the things that happens here is that this is a spheroid, and there are a lot, in my opinion, there are a lot of different minerals in this metamorphic rock that might act as resistors. Because when we look at the geological surveys, the topographical surveys, that's where that's what I've been looking for such a long time. We'll get to that real quick. Going by this one here.
Okay, let's pause a moment, and I need to look at the screen to see if anybody else is waiting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Oh dear, I don't know how to do that. All right, never mind. Let's go back. All right, now are you seeing all these squares now?
I see 4 by 4, 16 squares.
Yeah.
Upper right is what you were just showing.
Yes. All right, so we'll click on that so we can get back to that. I don't know how to see who else is waiting.
Let's close this window totally.
What's the building there?
And we'll end the meeting.
No, this one here. Oh,
He's asking a question.
okay, go ahead, Helmut.
What's that building?
Oh, I've forgotten what that building is. I mean, it's the opposite end of the post office. I don't know what the name of that
is. It's not new. It's left over from. It's something that stayed through the event.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, the official story of these beautiful rock crevices and swirls and deep holes, the official story is this is ice age erosion. And sure enough, if you've gone, cave splunking or whatever they call it, some of it looks like that. But what gets really more interesting is the map that Lorenzo found pre-construction.
Yeah, I'd like to see the comparison for sure.
Okay.
Right.
Let's see if we can get back so we can do what you wanted to do, to see if there's anyone else that wants to get on the call.
Okay.
Hamuk, we're going to do something that might be disruptive for a second. We'll see what happens.
Oh, okay. Here we go. We can do this. All right. It's still only 2 participants.
Right, because we've only allowed 2
Okay.
on. Let's see what happens.
Okay. So it's just.
I'm going to take a little break here,
Oh,
get my
that's-
teapot running.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. There's really just 2 of us for now.
and
Nobody's waiting.
okay, that would let you know if somebody was waiting.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Good.
All right. So let's see if we can share stuff from the Wix site while he's getting his tea.
Okay. Oh, good. And I'll find out.
Yeah, it looks like it would.
You are screen sharing, it says.
Yes.
This is so much
I
nicer.
don't know why it didn't work before. We did the same thing over and over again.
I really love the background.
Yeah.
Let's sit for a second. Watch the background. Not too distracting, but very cool.
That looks like what Alice made with gumdrops and toothpicks.
All right, so go to the top of the page again. And this is where we can leave it here, but we're going to be going to the deep holes.
Leave it here though?
Yeah, may as well. It's like, this is an introduction to 9/11 synthesis, assembling the fragments, connecting the dots.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you have to be selective about what you listen to and what you use for your storyline. That's essentially what we're doing.
Okay. So what we were sharing before, Hamuk, was the Facebook page, but this is the website.
This is the Wix website that we,
Okay.
that Susan sent out the email.
And this is your Wix website, not ours.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
It's one of those free websites.
Mm-hmm.
Navigate.
Okay, navigate, she says. The wheels run, assembling the fragments, connecting the dots. Oops, come on, you. The assembling,
Go straight to the maps.
go straight to the maps. Oh, we have to, yeah. Okay, that's an introduction to 9/11 synthesis, the whole thing that sort of drives us. Now, this is the deep holes here. Come on,
Double click.
here it comes, okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry for just saying, just get it all. Oh, come on, there you go. That's the picture that we saw. There seems to be a flow. You can see that there is like a linear flow or little troughs, but we'll get to a larger picture of this later.
And
Is
the
there an
scale
exit
is
from
really
this? Is
cute.
there some place where magna could have flowed out and down out of this area?
No, it was a basin.
Okay.
Susan noticed something over in this general area. It looks like a crevice. It might be part of the till-filled crevice that ran underneath the slurry wall. We'll look at that. It may
And
be.
also,
And also, there's something, an anomaly here that we're not really clear about what it is. It's a dark section, but we can't define it.
right.
This is and I could have rotated this, but these are the points in question. See all that brown stuff in that area there? This is where the two memorial pools are eventually built. This is where the towers were. And you can see that this is a different color. This is, it's some sort of a fill because this is what we're looking at in that general area.
Now, where is the schist exposed? Put your cursor on the schist.
Oh, this
The
is
bedrock?
That's beneath building number 4.
Okay, I see.
I never found anything excavated further than, let me move down a little bit further here. Okay, these are damage reports, Hamuk.
Yeah.
Notice that the brown is collapsed or heavily damaged beneath the towers. And the one below it, the green is literally designated as gone.
Put your cursor on the green.
Right, okay, green there says gone. And this is where Tower 1, the south tower, and this is the north tower.
Okay. And 7 is where?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the north tower. This is the south tower, and this
And
is
7 is over to the right here. I see
right
it.
there.
It's trapezoidal shape. Yeah.
Yes, that's the one. Okay. There's 7.
Okay. And then the pictures I've seen show, taken from the infrared camera, show those 3 sites, the 7, 1, and 2, as being
7,
hot
yeah.
into December, January.
Right.
Right.
Now, these were buildings that had been demolished, but building number 4 was still standing. The superstructure was damaged by the perimeter wall columns that
Wait, which is 4? The one in the corner here?
the red one right here.
Yeah, okay. Now,
Notice it
what
says-
was 4? I don't know what happened to it. What's its story?
Well, this is what nobody's talking about because I'm the only one that's talking about it.
Uh-huh.
We're going to find out because you're hearing this now and your interest in physics.
But is it gone? Is 4 gone?
Oh, they built a new building. Everything.
Yeah, they took it down.
Yeah. So there's
It
a new
was so heavily damaged.
right. There's a new building there.
Okay.
All right. Now this is where the South Tower stood. There is a what I believe to be a subsidence crater in this area here, and that's where it said deep hole up here. See that there?
Okay.
See this? Same
Now-
thing. Same place. See that? Gone. See this? See that fence right there, Hunter?
I'm trying to, there are different orientations then.
Yes, they are different. Different orientation.
Where's the ramp? Show me the
right.
ramp that's in the middle picture
This-
there. Show me that in the top picture.
Okay, the ramp. This ramp here is coming in from the south.
So it
This-
goes between the two.
Oh, Richard Kreshnik.
Richard
Yeah.
Kreshnik wants to come on.
Okay. All right.
We'll just keep on going at this point.
Hey, Richard.
Hello.
Hey, Richard,
Can't see you.
can't see you
Do you
yet.
see the screen sharing? Richard,
Yes.
do you see?
Oh,
Oh,
there
there
you
you are. Do you
Oh, we
see
have
the
to do,
screen sharing?
Okay.
You don't see me?
We
Yeah, I see you
you.
now.
Yeah,
They're wondering if you see a graphic on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
good.
All right. So we're talking about these, what are, in my opinion, subsidence craters beneath towers 1 and 2.
Yeah.
This is World Trade Center 7. This is the South Tower. This is the North Tower, I believe. Now, we were making a distinction that this is rotated, that this would be the North Tower over here, because this is where building number 6 is, and building 7 is over in this area here somewhere.
So it's like 180 degrees. So the ramp
Exactly,
comes up
yeah.
the left in the top picture.
Yes, thank you, Helmut. What we
I
could
see
do
it.
is, we should, whoever is working on this with us can produce graphics that are easy to compare.
Yeah, you
Again,
make
this is-
overlays and.
Yeah. Now, I
That'd
do
be
have
great.
I had some real cool overlays, and that's where we were going with this. All right, so we're talking about an event having occurred beneath Towers 1 and Tower 2, and an event energetic enough to reduce the material beneath this area here. This, if you follow this circle here, it's something like that large. You can see that there's a lot of what I presume, or what I imagine, are concrete planks or other sort of planking to stabilize the stuff underneath here, because what is happening is the stuff below is still cooling. It's still subsiding a bit. They needed a stable platform at the bottom of the ramp in order to drive in, and a pathway to start excavating whatever else, bringing out the steel and everything. But they never excavated any further than this. And this again is where the memorial.
What's in the bottom of that crater right now?
Someone would have to do an exploration by doing.
No, I mean in the picture. What's in the bottom?
That's broken up bedrock
So all of the debris has been removed,
from
and
this
what you're
area.
left and what you're left with is a crater after all the debris was removed.
Right, and this
Okay.
was the original surface, Richard. This
Yeah.
was the bedrock surface that all the piers and pilings and everything
Yeah.
was attached to.
Okay.
This was,
Mhm.
and I haven't seen geological surveys of when they built the towers, but this feature was most likely not there when they built the towers. Again, this is a subsidence crater. The stuff is fallen into a hole, into a bit of a void that appeared below it, probably on the morning of 9/11. And we're presuming that the void was produced by an immense and extraordinary temperature.
Uh-huh.
Now, okay, going to.
Well, wait a minute. So what happened to the material that had been in that crater before? The bedrock.
This is all, we don't know. You'd
But
have to
the
do-
presumption is that it was vaporized or just blown up or something?
Well, if you go to if you Google subsidence crater and nuclear or test, underground nuclear test, Richard, you'll find a lot of this stuff, and it describes the whole process. Now, I'm not promoting anything about nuclear. I have a lot of friends that are going all kinds of different devices, but the only thing that we're talking about here is enough energy
Yeah.
to a combination of vaporize, melt, and a boundary layer. And we'll go back to another picture.
Well, I'd like to get back to what Richard asked.
What question?
What happened to the material?
It's still there as far as I know.
No, the material was there right after 9/11, and they carted it all away.
No, this is as far as they went with this. I've never seen any further excavation of these cavities.
Don't you remember right after 9/11, all that material was there, right after 9/11?
We're talking about steel. We're
Yeah,
not talking about a hole in the bedrock.
that's what I want to make a distinction. But
Right.
when you say material, are you talking about bedrock material, or are you talking about the building material?
Okay, we're talking about the material in the hole, Richard. What is that material? It is pulverized, fractured, broken up bedrock, which had been, yeah, that
Okay.
what we
Right.
see now is
All
fractured,
right.
broken up
We need to
bedrock.
be clear about that
Yeah.
because material is a very broad term.
It sure is. Now,
Okay.
this is
And
my,
where are the surfaces with the swirls that you showed earlier?
they're over here somewhere, and that's the east bathtub over in that area. That's where building
Okay.
4 was.
Not in this picture.
Not in this picture.
So let's move
Right,
along.
again, this is what we're going towards for Richard Gage and architects and engineers, because in my opinion, one of the reasons for setting off an energetic enough event to do this to the bedrock beneath the core structures of the towers was to remove support for the core structure.
Right.
That's, you know, plain and simple, an engineering term. It was still being supported by the hat truss. The perimeter walls hadn't been removed yet. But at some point there was this detonation, you know, that whole thing, the detonation from the top down, where everything that had been done earlier in the day, the cutting, was now being displaced, just blowing all over the place. That's, again, my opinion about the sequence of destruction. This was probably, these events probably occurred early in the morning, and those are probably the events that people were talking about, the rumble from beneath the thing that caused all the damage that William Rodriguez talks about in whether it was tower number 1 or tower, I think it was in tower number 2 when one of these events occurred. But people said the lobbies were, you know, falling apart early in the morning before the first plane, right around the first time the time that the first plane struck. Okay, Richard, William Rodriguez. Now these are the surveys that we discovered about a year and a half ago. Hummock is gone.
I'm getting my tea. I had my headphones on. I hear
Okay.
every word.
Okay.
Okay, well, now we're talking about the maps before 9/11 and after 9/11.
Now, we can share these, I think that we have, and the document is available online that these were lifted off of. Again, these are only in a report. They are not the original documents.
But
The
they
original
physically
document.
would overlay, the two sides would overlay, and the placement of all the stuff would be the same?
Yeah. Right here.
This is before 9/11. You can see
The black.
this is showing how deep the holes were before construction. And they're not as dramatic.
And what you see underneath them is the post 9/11, all these pointy things, these coral colors, and this is a very, very revealing detail. This shows you the location. This is very accurately aligned with, you know, both of these surveys had locust marks on them. One of them was rotated maybe a half a degree, so there was a little bit of a problem, and I don't have software for doing that kind of a correction. But I'd venture to say that these are probably within 4 to 5 feet of each other, well within 4 to 5 feet of each other, laterally.
Okay, what are we comparing now? What are the apples and oranges in the two
Okay.
pictures?
This is this might get you dizzy for a second. And we will go to a couple of stills again. We could go back to the Facebook group because that has really good toggling on it.
Okay.
This is really good to get the point across, though. Looking at the two, just sort of focus on the black, and remember to just focus on the black from it. Don't even pay attention to the coral of it. The black is before 9/11. Pay attention. I'm trying to hypnotize you guys, by the way. Pay attention to the black. The black is before 9/11. The black is what they surveyed when they excavated the bathtub. This is pretty much what the profile of the bedrock was before they erected, before they started doing the piers and the pilings and everything they needed to attach the steel that the towers grew from. Now let's reverse our view and look at the coral colored ones. Notice the location in comparison to the black, but just notice them now. There's that snakehead, that's what they call a till-filled valley, which is glacial till. Round rocks that have been eroded by the glacier, mechanically eroded, fragments of wood, sand, gravel, all kinds of stuff. But that was a till, that was a crack in the bedrock, and it was filled with stuff. Like that's as far down as they ran the survey, because that's what they ran into, a narrow point. Now, look at the location of the coral colored stuff. And also notice this, and we're going to go back to the larger rendering of this now, back in that direction. Okay. That's the post 9/11 geological survey, and you can see the location. That's building number 4. I wanted to make sure that this was distinct enough that you'd be able to notice where the centers of each one of these cavities are. These are 2 distinct cavities. You can see that these radial marks here are, I believe they're 5-foot increments, and these cavities are, in the survey, and according to the scale here, they're 40 feet deep. Both of them bottom out at 40 feet. And that would be the bottom of the cavity that was beneath the center of building number 4. This would be the bottom of the cavity that is beneath the center of building number 4. Now notice that this has this detail over here, and that's what they call ledge overhangs. These 2 ledges used to be, if you can see that black surf, that little black line right there, and I do have these graphics so that it can be blown up and you can see them much more clearly, but that is where the arrow is pointing right now, is the original surface layer of the bedrock at that point. It was a straight line, it was a flat surface. This is what happened after 9/11. This whole thing subsided. This one here was heaved up, was lifted up, and this is all common in extraordinarily energetic subterranean.
Now, the thing you have your cursor on right now is a vertical section?
Right, this is a vertical cross section running.
Okay, I hadn't made that transition yet. So,
Yeah.
but you're showing the 2 horizontal cross sections down below, and the vertical cross section is this reddish pinkish stuff up a hut with the
Right,
overhang ledges.
Right, this is plan view, or topographical, reaching down and up and measuring down to surfaces, and this is their locations. All the lines just designate the location of that altitude, or whatever it's called. All right, this is the most telltale feature of them all, and the thing that we want to notice here is that bulge, or the belly, or the fat point, which is approximately 20 feet from the bottom and approximately 20 feet from the top of this cavity. That's a wide point there. Imagine that these existed at some point on this cavity over here, that this has already been excavated to the point. You saw those pictures of the excavators working and the chippers working on these. So this is already to a point where they've removed most of this burden. This had to be removed in order to build, because it was no longer attached. It was still cohesive, but it was no longer attached. And it was there for them to take the survey, which is like such a gift for weirdos like you and me who are studying this stuff. That both of these large sections of bedrock were there when they did the survey, to expose the details for us to study. All right. I don't know where else to go with this other than to say we need people that are interested in the subject.
Well, what's your question? What question are you left with? What are you asking?
Well, go ahead, Susan. You can help us with this.
Well, the way I see it is the official story can't be true about building 4, about the cavity under building 4, because they're saying it's ice age erosion. Well, if it was ice age erosion, why did it change so dramatically from the 70s to 2001? that doesn't make any sense.
Now,
Because,
show me what gives you the difference between the older and the new. Is that down here in the plan view?
yeah, I wish we had a larger view.
There you go. This is the old, yeah, we do have larger views, but this is just getting, just a quick and dirty presentation just to get it out.
Well, you're not getting it out if you don't have it clear.
Well, this is clear. It's just, I wonder if we can expand the screen at all on that.
I don't know how.
I
to
don't know
do
either.
that.
We could try going to the.
Your arrow, right? Your arrow now is on the before.
That's
Yes.
correct, yeah. This is a high point. This is a low point here. That is what they call the kill-filled crevice or crack or whatever in the
So
back.
you're saying that the high point is turns into one of the two low points.
It's only, we're only looking at the topographical elevation marks here. That's
Yes,
all we're
but
showing.
okay, but down below
This,
in
Yeah.
the,
that's the after 9/11.
And that's
Right.
over this spot, right? That's over where it says WTC.
that's what
Well-
I'm asking,
Yeah,
if the before high point is the same location as the after left-hand low point.
okay, let's look at that. The high point is right about there in the building. No, it's right near the boundary line of the outside of it, the southwestern edge of it.
The problem with the graphic is this is coral and it's very hard to see.
Right. It's,
Okay, wait, show me in, down below here, where you have the low point in the
That's-
topographical view.
okay, I'm gonna make it so that we can go, okay.
Where is the low point in
One of
that
the low point-
topographic-
Okay, Richard, one of the low points is just to the east of the east wall, the east
Okay.
facade. Now, let me go up. This is where that low point is post 9/11.
It looks like the two
You're
arrowheads are
now
about,
pointing to the pre-9/11.
Right now, we're on the pre-9/11.
Yeah,
This is the pre-9, watch my cursor. Don't pay attention to anything else.
I
other than
am.
my- Okay,
yes, yes.
this is the post 9/11. That is the east wall of building number 4. That is the east wall, and that's pretty much centered just slightly outside the east
Yes.
wall. We're gonna go.
And you're saying that's 20 feet lower than the pre?
No, I'm saying that the center of the hole is. Yes, the center of the cavity is. Right. Yes, absolutely correct. Yeah.
All right, now show the other.
Well, I'm sorry, that's 40 feet below the surface of the bedrock. The
Wow.
center of that cavity is 40 feet below
Okay,
that.
now show the before and after of the other depression,
Which one are you talking about?
There's
the left-hand depression.
Oh, this one. Okay. I got you. Okay, so that's about at the bottom of the digit 4, the numeral 4.
Okay,
That's about the bottom of the numeral 4 right there.
and then how much lower is that?
That's also 40 feet below the mean surface which this arrow is pointed at now in the cross section.
Huh, wow.
So let's look at this right here.
Well,
I'm
it
not-
seems like the most important area for research would be hypothesizing what could have caused that.
Now you've got pictures, graphics.
What energetic event?
Nuclear explosions.
Yes.
You got that handy?
We might have to go to another. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, here we go. Here's some, how nuclear
Yes.
causes,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
so
but-
there's some
but-
similarity.
but
not
this wasn't-
exactly.
But this wasn't nuclear because there's no radiation.
Richard, hold on one second. One of the reasons that they did underground or subterranean nuclear testing was so there would be no radiation released into the atmosphere.
Yes, except these holes are open to the atmosphere, and so there would be radiation. No one has
they are
ever said a
not.
word about finding any radiation.
Richard,
well,
I'm not
Steve
talking-
Jones
I'm
has a
not saying
paper
that-
that shows it's not.
No, I'm not saying that these were nuclear events.
Okay,
That's
but
not
you're
the
using a
argument.
nuclear event as an example.
Yes.
Yes. Right. So I mean, I'm for the moment, I'm assuming these were not nuclear events.
Well,
So
then we're not assuming
therefore,
here. We're not doing it.
therefore, what could they have been? That's the question.
Nanothermite.
What?
Nanothermite melts granite.
Yeah. Okay.
It could
Yeah.
be. I mean, it could be. It
Uh-huh.
could very well be. I don't know what it is.
When nanothermite was accreting those last 2 or 3 months where they show the hot spot and
Yeah.
everything was shifting and it would burn away and make cavities and burn away some more and more stuff would fall down. While it was accreting, it was hotter than hell in there.
That's right. Yeah.
It was
Okay.
melting the crap out of the bathtub.
Uh-huh.
Now,
Uh-huh.
how did it get down there?
How did it get down there? It burned its way down there.
And then it got hotter and hotter and hotter until
It doesn't have to get hotter. It goes at 5,000 degrees. That'll melt steel. That'll melt granite. That'll melt
I thought
anything.
It was 4,500
I
degrees.
beg to differ with both of you about this because we're talking, and we'll go back to the cross section again. Oh, I don't like that one. That's too dizzying. We'll go back to this again. These are two, I mean, and wait a second, this is building number 4. The Twin Towers were destroyed by what the hell? Who put thermite 20 feet below building 4 in these 2 locations is what,
Are you saying it dripped down?
but where did it come from?
Well, it would have had to have been placed there.
Well, let's have a look at the overlay of the aerial view of the hot spots. Maybe they don't match up. Let's have a look.
You won't find it here. The building still stood above it. It would not show up in it.
I see. And what happened to this building? You know, I see the cookie cutter of 6. What happened to 4? What was its damage pattern?
Its damage pattern was kind of similar to building number 6.
Do you have an aerial view of it?
I'm not looking at the damage, to tell you the truth. I'm looking at the stuff that happened below. I don't
Uh-huh.
have an aerial view handy, Rich. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I understand that. I'm just
Okay.
curious. I haven't ever seen anything about building 4, so this is new stuff to me.
Okay, I'll tell you what happened. Building number 4 was partially destroyed, or at least the part of the structure had the east wall of the south tower land upon it. So it had similar damage to what building number 6 had from the north wall of the north tower landing on its roof trusses, which were meant to hold a really good snow and wind load, but weren't built for.
Did it have an atrium in it? Is that
Yeah,
possible?
there was very much, yeah, it was like an atrium, the whole thing. That was a perfect example of pancaking, by the way.
Huh.
That was structural failure, and it was literally, boom, boom, the things failed. It was, building number 6 was a typical, that open atrium area was such a typical pancake collapse. It was brilliant, but nobody called it that. Everybody thinks it's
That's the first time I've heard it called a atrium, and it sure looked like that. It looked like there were
Yeah.
these chunks, little cookie cutters all around a big atrium.
Yeah, and Richard had questions about the edges of that, but yeah, it's the first time I saw that, I realized that it was structural failure and nothing weird. And we will go like directed energy. I don't want to disparage directed energy. It has a time and a place, but I do not believe that this was the time or place for that.
Well, you can go ahead and disparage it all you want, as far as I'm concerned. So have at it.
Hey, look,
Was building 4 next to building 6?
no, building number
No, 6 is
way
in
up
the
there.
upper left-hand corner of the graphic, and 4 is way down in the middle bottom.
Right, and these were separated by a bathtub. There was a wall, a slurry wall between them. Let's go back to that graphic. So-
Well, according to this 3D model I have of the after effects,
Oh, cool.
Oh,
That's one of them
building-
3D printers.
yeah. Show me the layout again of the buildings.
Okay, well, this
go
is,
back to that other picture.
well, this is the damage report here. What do you?
No,
what do
show
you-
me the picture of the footprints of of all of the buildings.
Oh, there we go.
That one?
Yes. Okay. So
So show us your thing, put your plan, yeah, put that, aim that right at the camera. And what's the big building on the right there? There's a tall one to your, yeah, that one. What's that?
I don't know.
I
Do you
don't,
know,
I'm
you know
not
what
seeing-
any of them are that you can line up with his map?
Can you do it so I can fill up the screen with this?
I want to see it in comparison. Yeah, okay.
Double click on him. No. Let's
You
see.
got to be talking, Richard. Keep talking. Gettysburg Address.
I can't get his.
Okay, just a second.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, back up just a bit. You're a little too close. Now you're getting it. Now where?
So there's building 6. See the big hole in building 6?
Yeah,
Okay, okay. So turn it right. Turn it 90 degrees. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere.
now,
here's one of the-
building 6 is barely represented in this graphic, so.
Yeah, here's one of the towers. Here's the other tower. There's building 6.
Yeah.
So I guess you're saying that this over here would be building 4 in the opposite corner,
No,
right?
down at the bottom. Run your
Here?
finger. No, keep going down. Keep going
That's
there.
building 6 right there.
Well, no, but over to your
Right
Can we
next
get
to
both
it.
of
there,
Over
right about
here.
there.
I don't know how.
That's building 4-ish.
I see, right. Yeah, there's not
Building-
much left. It's
Yeah.
it's not like 6 or 5. There's just, you know, a couple of little bumps there. I mean, there's very little left.
And when was your gizmo made, Richard? Was that supposedly of ground zero the day after or something like that?
No, this was made by the guy here. I'm blanking out on his name. He's a 3D. Printer
But what I
guy.
meant was what date was it to represent? Was that September 11th, 2001? No
I don't
excavation.
know. I don't know how long after it is supposed to be. I don't know.
Somebody took a 3D picture and then just stuck it into their printer. Pretty cool.
Well, he didn't just take a 3D, but he had a whole host of, he had zillions of pictures and
Huh.
all kinds of data
Mhm.
that he used to create. He has I have the before and the after of the complex.
Yeah.
Huh.
2 of these little babies. In
So
fact,
building, just for your reference, if you look back at the screen share, you see WTC 2?
Yeah.
It's right next to WCT 2.
Yeah,
Building 4
Uh-huh.
is right next to it.
that's right. Yeah.
That's right next to, it's just to the east of the south tower, Richard.
Yeah, I got it. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like there wasn't that much left of the structure above ground.
Well, it was heavily damaged,
Yeah, I'll say.
but if you look at the damage report, it's, of course it was heavily damaged.
Far more than building 6 or building 5.
Yeah, there are pictures of it. Yeah, it was damaged. It was damaged. You also, yeah, okay.
Now, let me ask you if white phosphorus or depleted uranium, what kind of damage would that do?
What kind of uranium?
Depleted.
So-called depleted.
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
I call it deadly. It's got enough to kill you left in it.
But you'd still have a lot of radiation around if you used
Right.
depleted uranium.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You-
So
you
what
can fi-
about white phosphorus?
It's better on skin than anything else. It
I
really
don't
makes
know.
it-
I don't know what temperature that burns at.
I'll tell you something.
White hot.
White phosphorus is, yeah, it's an incendiary and it burns like hell.
Does it reach temperatures above 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit?
probably.
Since you
And
guys are
what
talking
is the
about,
melting? What's the melting point of granite?
I don't know, 33,000, something like that.
Uh-huh. Another
Uh.
problem I'm having is I don't quite see how it could be thermite because, or white phosphorus, because it would melt it, but it would still be sitting there.
No, white phosphorus would, you wouldn't even have evidence that white phosphorus was used.
No, but I mean the rock, the melted rock would still be sitting there in those bowls. It would, there's no
Richard,
place for it to
yeah.
go.
Richard, I think you were incorrect in that assumption. There's something called entropy and thermodynamics. And if something melts, it doesn't stay melted. Heat has to go somewhere. It doesn't just want to stay. So yeah, but
So
what
you're saying
happens?
that the granite could have been vaporized?
Yeah, well, it's schist and
The melting point of granite is 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit,
Uh-huh,
and the steel starts melting at 2,500.
uh-huh. So you're saying that the granite could actually have been vaporized and gone up into the atmosphere?
Yeah, silicon dioxide, yeah, gaseous.
Huh,
Wait a
Wow.
minute, what about just condensing?
Well, that's what happens after. But a lot of it did gas off. I mean, it completely changed the molecular structure starting at the center.
Uh-huh.
Can you guys see me? Can you see me?
yeah.
Rah! You know, from a center, 20 feet beneath the surface of building number 4, there was
Uh-huh.
an immense amount of energy released sometime on 9/11 in two
And-
places.
And
It could have
put
been
your
some-
cursor on the photo you want me to look at?
What's that?
I see it. Okay, yeah.
What are you looking?
I wanted you to put your cursor on the picture you were talking about. There we go. Good.
Now, this gives you a good idea of the scale when you look at the crane and the ladder.
The
Amazing.
excavator.
Yeah. So that's pretty big.
Now, this is one of the best details, and we'll go over this again with Richard here. And this is a line here that we have to keep looking at. There's a line.
Yeah.
And this is probably where one of those nice dark colored overhangs was. Yeah, this is, this shows you this is probably the belly area. See that? That's the wide area. There's a lot of stuff that's fractured that they've removed. You can see the area of the surface here, which is an old fracture surface. It's oxidized. You can see that there's probably been some motion between it and the fang surface, but this is a surface that fell into the hole during cleanup. This is also that horizontal line that goes around the boundary here.
Uh-huh.
And
This is building 4.
this is beneath building number 4. This is a section of one of the.
And show me the line where that vertical wall that you showed with the 2 bellies in it is.
Oh.
Is that from there straight back?
I can't tell you exactly where it is, but I'm going to imagine that it kind of ran in this
Uh-huh.
general area here that it had.
Now- Where is the part under building 4 that is still intact?
Oh, you mean the earlier?
No, don't. I don't want you to change pictures. I want you to use this picture, but indicate somehow where is the underground part that is still intact, that has that long open hall with the store and the clothing in it and all that. Where would that be?
That what are you talking? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Richard.
I thought you showed us that underneath building 4, there's a giant open space that has the roof is still there, the columns are still there, there's
No.
No,
No.
He called it the fill zone or something like that, right?
where was that? That was under what?
Yeah, but there was a roof and columns.
What building was that under?
we're not talking about any of the any structural stuff right now. We're talking about cavities in the ground and
But I'm asking you, what building was that under? That showed
this is
the,
underneath building number 4.
I don't know what you're asking.
It
I'm
showed
not
the
sure
clo-
the whole-
it showed the huge cavernous space
That's the
that
bottom of it.
had the columns in it, the floor, the roof, perfectly smooth. On the left-hand side, the wall was blown away from a shop. And all the clothing is still there hanging
Richard,
on the
we're
rack?
we're not over there. We're in the east
I
bathtub.
have no idea what.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never
Yeah.
presented anything like that.
Oh, so you don't know what building that was under?
I don't know what.
I have no
picture
idea what you're talking about.
All right, sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was confusing. This
Okay,
is
now-
an interesting structure right here. We don't know what this pipe is.
And it showed up in other. This is, by the way, you can see that this is that. I'm trying to figure. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the orientation of this is. I think that we're looking at that line going in this direction here, and over here is the other cavity. I think that that's what we're looking at. But you know,
So this is also building 4?
yeah, this is where building number 4 was. It's in this general area here.
So the pipe, do you see the pipe there?
Across the top?
No, go back, go back. Why are you clicking?
The vertical pipe?
Yeah.
Yes, and it
Uh-huh.
looks all oxidized, like it's.
Put
been
your
there
cursor
forever.
on it.
Huh?
Right there, right there.
Oh, I see it. I see it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just so we have location now.
This is just a curiosity, no idea what it means, but it looks like it's oxidized and been there for a very long time, years.
Well, you know, iron
So
is,
it's strange.
well, it's strange that it's oxidized is kind of typical after a year of being exposed to heat and other stuff if it is steel or iron. However, what is it doing there? Why is it there?
Yeah.
We
It's
very
very strange.
very
I
strange.
don't know what it means, but it's just a curiosity.
What do you
Okay,
think that
well,
shoring is for in the front?
This is
Lower
what
front.
this is during the time when they're starting to put the piers in for the new building number 4, which is erected above this.
Oh, uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. This is building number 4's new piers. You can
Uh-huh.
see people working here. You can, they were able to remove all of the loose and fractured material so that they were able to then fasten to the large sections, because they're
Yeah,
correct,
stable.
very stable. They
Yeah.
needed,
Another question, do we know in fact that the granite that was filling those 2 big holes,
let's
Well,
state
it wasn't
that
granite. That was just an
Schist.
example.
it's
well, what,
schist.
it's schist?
Just melts at a much lower temperature than granite.
Okay, but do we in fact know that it was melted, or maybe it wasn't melted? Maybe it was just pieces and they just had dug it all out and removed it.
melted.
How do you know it was melted?
I'm making
Look at-
that allegation, that's all.
Look at the patterns.
What?
Look at the patterns. It looks
Look at
like
the- look at-
magma flow.
I see.
And this service
I
here is
see.
called what, Susie?
Anatexy.
What is anatexy?
Anatexy is a geological term for these formations that look exactly like this. You know, very
Uh-huh.
evenly scooped out and layered and smoothed cavities caused by magma
I
or
see.
some other highly energetic event.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
indeed, the bedrock was melted,
Yeah.
at least out to this point here. And that's the point that the melting stopped. And and we're talking about melting in a fraction of a second, by the way. It's not like somebody
And none of us know of any person who's an expert
right.
in this kind of phenomena with schist who could hypothesize what could have caused it. We need somebody like that,
Yes.
right?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I also thought it would be good to get a demolition expert who has worked with demolishing high rises in the past and to find out if they've ever experienced anything that looks anything like this.
I definitely want physicists, geologists, people who understand, thermodynamics.
Okay, and so far, have you looked for any such person yet?
Well, we've been doing it, this is what we do, and that's what this call is about.
We've posted this on sites for geologists that have nothing to do with 9/11.
Yeah.
And that's basically how we found out it's called anatexy.
Thank you. Yeah.
You found
Oh.
out what?
The term anatexy.
Oh, I see. But I mean, you've actually found the names of some geologists and things like that, and
I'm a member of a group, a geology group. I mean, this is, Andy Steele was in our last call, and this is a wonderful example of the different textures, the different colors,
Yeah.
the contours, and
Yeah.
the colors and conditions. It's a perfect way of looking into this hole and saying
uh-huh.
that
But I'm
something-
just trying to establish whether or not you've actually begun searching for geologists that could help us.
I don't know how to go about that. Somebody
Okay.
suggested that we reach out to undergrad or grad students,
Uh-huh.
and that would be a great idea. I just don't know how to go about that.
All right. Well, yeah, well, I'll think about that. Huh. All right. Uh-huh.
Even if they turn up nothing, it's still a fascinating study.
It's very fascinating. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful structures.
This is- I think this is one of the, I've named a few of these, these little alcoves or nookies.
Uh-huh.
When I first discovered it, I was looking at the pictures. I did not notice the surveys until a year and a half ago.
How did you find these pictures?
Oh, these are stock online stuff. A lot of them were covered in the survey too, but
Wow.
these you search. I don't know that they're still up, but I downloaded them or lifted them off website. That
Wow.
had pictures years ago. This is of the beginning of the excavation of a section of those cavities. You can see.
Uh-huh.
Well, tell the story about how you found the pre-9/11 mapping.
Let's get back to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to leave you now, folks.
Okay, Richard.
To be continued. All right. Uh-huh.
Did
Yeah,
you go
wait.
on that other call with the 5G, the Green Party?
I think you left us.
Too late. Okay.
Hey,
That was abrupt.
I'm glad you're still here.
Where we at?
You were a geologist. I mean, what was your?
No, physics is my background.
What is
But,
physics?
in high school, I was teaching senior geologists to the senior, because usually you didn't take that class until you were a senior. And the seniors, I was way ahead. I had caught up with the teacher. So I was helping them figure out what the samples were and what you had to figure out. You had these little mystery samples. You had to figure out what they were. And I was helping the seniors figure that out when I was a freshman. So
Oh, wow.
I was very interested in that kind of stuff.
So
Right.
we're hoping that you still are.
Yeah, well, but I'm not an expert. The idea of finding an actual geologist to look at this stuff is great. I'd love to hear what they had to say. Like that guy who looked at the demolition and said, yeah, it's a demolition.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the thing that I would like to see is a geologist and a physicist and somebody very well-versed in thermodynamics in the same room. At least those three people.
Yeah. So anyway, what do you think of all this? Hammoud?
Well, by the way, is there any pictures like this under 1 and 2?
The
No.
only, no, because as far as I got in my investigation, my studies, I looked for anything further than what we already had up. I'll see if we can get back to that. I think that's in the Wix page.
So if you put the thermal overlay on top of your maps there, it will not be, the hot spot will not be over 4. Is that your conjecture, or that's what you say?
I've studied that too, and I have not seen a hot spot over 4.
So, but 1 and 2 and 7 have hot spots.
Right, because their structure has been pretty much,
Reduced to rubble.
Yeah, well, reduced to rubble, right, to a low point where the heat could now convect and radiate through. I don't know what the story is with 4. It's fascinating stuff. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Other than it was damaged. I'm not sure how deeply, but looking at the damage reports again.
Well, but to me, the fact that you're saying there isn't this thermal image of 4, like these 2 big circles you have here have overlaid with the thermal images, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
So that's what I'm thinking is
those were taken early. Those were taken just within days of the event. There was no, I don't know when they demolished building number 4.
Well, wait a minute. It took them weeks to get all the crap out of the hole, didn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so this wouldn't be days, this would be weeks of the event. Because,
Well, here it says February 22nd, 2002.
yeah, so that's not.
That
days.
makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, there were pumpers. There was an excavator and another picture that we have of this, and a blue pumper pumping water onto it.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen that?
Well, I haven't seen it close up, but I was under the impression that they were pumping a lot of water into those holes.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice if somebody actually was looking at the stuff they took out as they excavated it, but that somehow just escaped everybody. It's just amazing to me
Yeah.
how little we know about this event.
Really. So again, we're back to the beginning again. This is what appeared after they removed the material that had been building number 4. And this
Oh,
is,
and I got to ask you this question. When you were showing building number 4, you talked about coral. You're not talking about coral, the rock, but coral, the color in the reference material.
yes, we should
Okay.
use it. Is there another term that we should use?
Well, no, as long as I understand the difference, I thought, we were talking about different kinds of rock, and then I sort of thought, well, maybe he means a rock, but I wanted to clarify it, that it was an indicating color on your graphic.
Okay, we'll call it peach.
Peach, I like peach. Yeah, that's good. Peach is good.
Okay. So let me just quickly go through these before we call it an evening. And
Okay.
we want to talk with you again, and we would like to, have I shared the geological survey with you?
I don't think so.
It has a lot of really good images on it. I will email you the geological survey. It is the original PDF that I got the stuff from. Not the one that I got the stuff from, but it is of the same report. Susan,
Cool.
quick story to share, I think, about conspiracy stuff and documents being altered for some reason.
oh, well, I'm only getting it from you, so you tell it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Richard and I had a chat. I showed him his stuff, a Facebook chat, Richard Gage.
Okay.
And he asked me where I got he said, where did you get this? And I had a link. And I copied and pasted the link onto the chat. And about 5 minutes later, I said, I wonder if it still works. I want to make sure that Richard's going to be able to get it.
Uh-huh.
I went to that link, and both surveys had been removed. I had emailed these people about a month and a half prior to this, saying, I'm an independent researcher. I'd like to ask you some questions about the topographical surveys pre and post 9/11. And that was the full body of my email
Uh-huh.
to the people that produced the survey, as their name was on the top of it.
Cool.
Again, just moments after I let Richard know where I got the material, I went to that site. And again, Susan's just hearing it from me, and she's heard it since it happened. Those 2 surveys had been removed from that particular site.
But did they send you a preprint?
No, I found another site that had the same survey.
Oh, good.
Somebody copied the PDF and posted it somewhere else.
Excellent.
And I copied it, and I sent it to a number of friends so that they'd have it. And
Cool.
I think that you've had it, because I think I sent it to the Boston 9/11 group, but people, you know, we ignore each other in a lot of.
Well, you got to really focus me on a little tidbit because I get quite a few tidbits during the day.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure that there's just a single email. To
Well, and since I know it's you sending it, I'll look. I'm especially interested in that, so I'll look for it.
and a little quid pro quo. I've been watching your stuff.
Oh, good. How'd you like it? It's the new direction. It's very rare, I think, kind of direction to go, but I'm having a good time.
It's more of an obsession and a compulsion since, you know, here it is. And what am I going to do? I don't know. Trying to get people like you more involved in exploring this, finding that you have friends who might be interested because this is very deeply you know, literally. Yeah.
Turn on a light.
Yeah, Sue's going to illuminate us. Yeah, we need to get journalist people in the academy who are open-minded and more into journalism, into telling the truth, into noticing what there is and sharing it.
Mhm.
I'm saying, what is this? We need more people that say, what's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on here? Oh, beautiful, but what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
Again,
So-
we're looking at that line. You know, that you can
There's
see,
that pipe again.
and there's that pipe again, of course.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
And here are those wonderful, sculpted by very high temperature formations. And here is the fracture lines where the stuff above has been broken off, but had originally formed a bit of a, you know, like a bulbous cavity, a spheroid cavity.
Hmm.
How
And-
many basements did building 4 have?
I don't know whether building, I don't know the answer to that question.
That's kind of an important question too.
Well, I imagine we could find out the answer by having somebody go for the plans.
Now, is this
We could also
piece?
find out what the, you know, what the site geology was at the time that they actually started construction.
Uh-huh.
Would not include this.
Is
Go
the
ahead.
structure in the center of this picture the new foundation being put in?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that rock that's built on, they didn't go past the, it looks to me like there's a guy standing under the
Right, well,
overhang there.
Correct.
The surveyors and the people on site have determined that that is solid bedrock. It's not fractured.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been analyzed as sound.
Mm-hmm.
I would never build on anything that hadn't been analyzed as sound.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. Because I'm a grumpy sound man.
Just it looks like a rather large overhang, but I guess it's stronger than dirt.
Yeah, well, yeah. Again, it's a large section, but you can also see where it's been. Excuse me, I'm pointing with my finger over here. Sorry about that. This is the end of the anatexy. This is the beginning of the fracturing. Yeah, so there was probably a fairly large hunk over in this, you know, going. You can see these lines
Coming
here.
towards us.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Boom. So this was broken off and carted away.
Uh-huh.
This was not sound enough to go until they got back to this point here. You know, it's wonderful going over this and analyze, you know, because I've been analyzing this and looking at it for years, and it's great to be able to get my chops together, sharing this stuff with you, you know, getting practice with it and going.
Well,
for
cool. It's fantastic photos. You've got a lot of stuff to work with here.
Yeah, I mean, this is photographic evidence. You can see the colors, which are new. They pretty much washed out at this point. That's probably the low point right there. Just guessing at it. And somebody was really hunkered back into a corner with a wide angle lens to get this one, man.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all distorted, but
Yeah, definitely a fisheye.
yeah, it's a fisheye. This is, again, just so revealing because you're looking at the fracture, the rubble, the fracture line here where they carted stuff away.
Uh-huh.
The overlying bedrock burden from this point here, where there was a rift, some sort of a fracture in the bedrock. You can see all these wonderful weathered, slightly eroded surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get down into here, down into the belly of the beast. And you see this beautiful spalled surface where the heat had reached the boundary, and it said, okay, I'm going to stop breaking up now, but you can wash me off. You can pressure
Mhm.
wash me or hose me or brush me off. This is that point of temperature, the irresistible therms reaching the resistible mass of elements and compounds and minerals.
Uh-huh.
Fun for geologists and physicists to banter
Well,
about.
we'll keep looking for, we need a real geologist to
Yeah.
look at this stuff.
We really do. And these pictures, so
Well,
they're
what about asking Richard Gage? He supposedly has his contacts categorized by a field.
well,
ask-
if you become an advocate for this, then you're on the team that is going to talk with Richard. Because the truth for me is I'm embarrassed every time Richard attributes the thermal, the incredible temperatures burning below for months as being caused by or having the mechanism be nanothermite, because most of that was expelled during the destruction of the towers. If there was any in the sub-basement, it would have been specifically on the columns to dismember the columns, and it would have been mostly spent. Other than the red-gray chips, the thermite does not dwell. Once it starts to react, it either it blows particles away so that people could find evidence of it, or does its work.
Well,
And,
keeping in mind that there may have been 100 times more thermite, 10 times anyway, more thermite than was necessary to do the job. Probably not 100. I think they knew better than that.
Well, it would have
But
been, in my opinion, it would have been mostly consumed in the top-down demolition.
well,
of the
but we
towers.
know from Steve Jones samples anyway that there's a tremendous amount of unexploded nanothermite, red-gray chips in the material.
Right,
you
so
know-
that stuff went into the atmosphere and landed with the dust as the building was being blown up from the top down.
Some of it did. That's what I'm saying. But I
Yeah.
think there was 10 times more than they needed to do the job. And that ended up in the dust and accreted for days, months, and years in the basement. In my visualization as a physicist, that's not my visualization as a geologist, which you're trying to get a better picture of.
Okay, what we're looking at now is not apples and oranges, but we're looking at subsidence craters beneath the towers, which they never excavated as far as I know. And then we're looking over at building number 4, which had structural damage to the roof. But those cavities that we're looking at right now are beneath building number 4.
And what's that level spot in front? Is that filled in or is that solid?
That's slurry. That's being washed down. You see the hoses?
Oh, so
That's,
that's
the
liquid.
The workmen are washing the
Oh, I
cavities.
see it. Yeah, yeah. Now,
They-
in the background, starting at the middle of where the slurry meets the hill there, that little groove there, is that the rift you talk about filling?
That might be the one that Susan was talking about. It might be part of the rift. And
Well, I
there's,
think that's what Richard was talking about. I don't know the part about the clothes hanging on it, but I think that's what he was conflating with the pillars and stuff.
there was no structural stuff.
Right. No,
Remember,
I think he heard something different than what you were showing him.
we have to go back to point number 1. Oh, where did it go? Damn it. Okay, this is beneath the towers. This is another, and here we have the pumper and the excavator pumping water onto. Now notice that there's no building left. All the steel this is bedrock. And
Where's the pumper?
the pumper is that blue truck right there, right above my finger.
Okay.
You can see the water coming out of it.
Oh, okay.
And excavator. Okay, so somebody else did this. This is a rough interpretation by some guys in Germany that called it the South Tower Breakup Rock Ramp. Of course, North Tower Breakup Rock. So this is another investigator's artwork here, saying location of the towers and this stuff where the rock is all broken up. Again, I defined them again. And this is later. Again, the date is taken on this one here. Looking at the detail, we don't see the the large cavities over here. They're working over here. I don't know when they excavated those, got them cleaned out. But this is where the tower stood. And this is where thermite would have, if there had been any left over, would have landed on the surface here. And there would have been some sign that they burned their way down, if they did indeed burn their way down. But we're not looking at the Twin Towers. We're looking at them only because of these subsidence craters, and looking at and using building number 4 as a suggestion that similar events occurred beneath each of the towers.
And is 4 where you have the best pictures of the swirling rock cavities?
Again, I'll reiterate that this is as deep as I have been able to locate as excavation went. And it looks almost as though they didn't excavate any further than this from this point on. They probably made a decision not to build up, but to put the memorial pools down here around that time.
Well, in the lower, in the sort of in the rear and the back of that, there seem to be building floors. Yeah, right in there. Is that stuff?
That's all building 6.
And that was ultimately taken out.
Yeah, and this is partially underneath building 6. Remember, I can't align this stuff. I can go to the okay, we've got that, and we've got that, which show the locations. Google Maps did a wonderful job. If you put your finger in the center of one of the reflecting pools, and I'll toggle between these for you. Do the north, put your finger right in the middle of the north pool. Okay, I'll leave the cursor. I think this will work. Let's see, I'm going to toggle. Whoops, not that way. Okay, that's the North Tower.
Okay.
That would be standing here. Now, that's where my finger is, underneath the ramp. This is how large the cavity beneath the North Tower probably was. I'm going to go back. Whoops. Again, North Tower, North Tower, North Tower. Look at the disturbance even in the photograph, you can see how much it's disturbed. Of course, you can still see some of the damage done to building number 6. I think that building number 6 may have still been partially standing. It's hard to tell in this. And this, of course, going back, this is a large diameter breakup in the surface of the bedrock. And I'm just alluding to that radius from around that point there, that radius would probably continue, and which is why they have all this stuff down here at the bottom of the ramp, is because the stuff was falling out from underneath and they needed to stabilize it. So, I mean, this is as far as I can go with the analysis.
Mm-hmm.
I can only share visual interpretations, educated opinions about what we're looking at,
Mm-hmm.
and why they put a fence in over here. And I would say that they did it to keep trucks from falling into the hole.
Huh.
And this hole wasn't there, and neither were the 2 holes beneath building number 4, which nobody has looked at until around this time. Seriously looked at until around a little over a year and a quarter, about a year and a half ago.
When you say there were no holes earlier, how do we know that? That we don't have any pictures of it.
Yeah, I'm making an allegation now, and I
Okay.
guess we could go and find out, looking at the different as the progress of excavating and doing the geological survey and the ongoing process of putting in the pilings, the foundations for building number 4 and the Twin Towers go. They probably did some fracturing of the surface of the bedrock to level it, so that they have essentially a level surface to build everything on.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal. There weren't that many, rises and falls. It would be great to be able to see the geological surveys of both. And this needs to be part of the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
We need to share this to the point where Richard Gage and family get that there's something else going on here that needs to be added. And he's this, like Susan says, we all agree that he's the star. And I hate to see him, degrading his credibility with me and whoever else might be looking at this by making allegations that he has no proof for, such as thermite is the cause of the heat. And we've talked
The
about
deep cavity.
yeah, for the deep cavities beneath number 4. Thermite was used for the destruction of the towers. There's no doubt it was blown all over Manhattan. There's something else going on here, and he really needs to stop positing that the holes
Everything
over here
was thermite.
was thermite.
Right.
He's, I've given him a gift. He's going to take it or he's not going to take it, and it'll either die or it'll be picked up and people will investigate, and this will become a part of the history of 9/11 rather than an obscure thing that only a few people have shared. Hey, I got nowhere else to go with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much. There's a lot of work going on in this, and the overlays are very nice.
That was a gift from David Meiswinkle, kind of a really weird
Yeah.
kind of gift. Quick story.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been bugging David. David, anyone that can get information about, the geological surveys underneath building number 4? I want to find out what's going on there. And he said, after 2 or 3 bugging him, he sent me a very short cryptic email that says, contact Ms. Moss, period. Contact capital M little s period, capital M little o s s period. That was the message I got from him
Huh.
in a nutshell. So I said, Ms. Moss, 9/11, Google, came up with a geological survey, looked at it, said, holy fuck, I've been here before, but I did not look at these 2 technical drawings.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at them, but I didn't see them. I was so engaged in looking at the image, especially of the large cavity, the one with the nice fisheye that you could just see all these beautiful details of differences in surface colors and textures, and I just became so enthralled with that I focused on that until David Meiswinkle poked me, and I got the back to the website that I had gotten some of those images from.
And that's the one you're going to send me?
That's what I'm going to send you. It's got a
Excellent.
report. I completely disagree. I believe that the report is fatally flawed in so many ways. They even say they didn't understand how this could have been formed. They didn't see any entry or exit points for flow. They called them whirlpools, they called them plunge pools, but there's no head for anything to have plunged from. And we're talking about beneath a previous geological survey that was a hard survey. That was bedrock. That was bedrock. It disappeared. We're looking at the same space and it just fucking disappeared. They took a lot of it out, of course, to be able to expose the cavities so they'd be able to resurvey them, but that the surveyors included them in the report, that they included the prior and the post in the report is just, when I looked at them, Susan said, oh, she was afraid I was going to die.
His blood pressure went way up.
Well, I'm looking forward to looking at it up close.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for putting this all together. It's quite a remarkable piece of work.
Thank you,
Thank
Harouk.
you
And I'm
for
hoping that
joining
you're able and more than willing to share it with people who have an interest in this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think the one thing we need to do is to get the rotation of this picture, at least side by side, rotated with the other one, so that they're both, so you can see the same thing. I've sort of got it in my head, but without the other picture there, it keeps looking funny.
I've got a few of this at different times, and what I'll do is put them together into their own album, modify them as much as I possibly
Make
can.
a PDF so that we can share.
Well,
Okay.
JPEG of the images
JPEG, right?
would be better for the images, but doing
Mm-hmm.
for sharing the only thing we have on the forum is a PDF.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'll send you the highest resolution JPEGs that I can find.
Okay.
These details.
That sounds
Just
good.
the one, huh?
I say that sounds good.
Thanks for engaging. We're going to do this again next week, same time, same station.
Okay,
Sound good?
I think so. Yeah.
And it's the only way that we can effectively reach out is getting people interested in engaging, because so many people just do not understand what it is that I'm talking about
Uh-huh.
when I go.
Well, I've been there before myself.
Yes. And for me, it's like fifth grade general science. I mean, I never,
Uh-huh.
as someone with ADHD who, pays attention to things that he's interested in and kind of like, I love putting stuff together. And I want to, at some point, focus on the Pentagon,
Mm-hmm.
because we're having a go about with Wayne Costa again, too.
Oh, really?
On one of the 9/11 Truth groups on Facebook.
I see.
It's been a good conversation so far.
Oh, good.
All right.
All right, guys. It's a pleasure. Nice to see you. You
too.
guys are troopers. There's no doubt about it. Keep up the good work.
All right.
I will
Thank you.
see
Thanks a
you. Oh, there's the thing I'm looking for. I'll talk to you later. Have a good evening.
You
All
too.
right.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Share. And then,
That's going to be a long video.